Good. Good evening, and welcome to the special City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Wednesday, August the 14th. Item number 1, ordinances and resolutions, 1A. First and final consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2171, an ordinance of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, calling a bond election to be held on November the 5th, 2019 for the purposes of drainage improvements, public safety facilities, street improvements, animal shelter and control facilities, and setting forth other provisions related thereto. Chris Dubing, our Assistant City Manager. Chris.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I hope to make this quick but full of information. First off, before I start, we would not be here if it, one, wasn't for y'all's leadership and guidance as we've worked through the fall and spring retreats, but two, the team that's I've been able to assemble and stuff to help me with this under Alan's leadership, but with Doug Brinkley as kind of my co-lead on this, Daphne McKinney, Cindy Dees, Jesse Lee and Keisha Seals, all the directors, the chiefs, Rob Valenzuela of Public Works, Stacy Henderson, I mean, everybody is playing a role in this as we cast this broad net to go not only discuss what it means to be in Sugar Land, to work for Sugar Land, to represent the citizens here, but to move us forward, hopefully, as we look through this transition period at how we plan to do CIP and kind of capital planning in the years to come. This is a culmination of a lot of work that has been going on for years, and you've heard me say that before. This was not something that we sprang up and said, let's throw some projects out there and go get it done. We've been working on a majority of these for years, so there's been a lot of activity. We have shared some of that with all of y'all, or a little of it with all of y'all in the time we've been working to this point, but I'll hit on some of that tonight as we run through it. I'll talk a little bit, just the history of the program, and you'll see some of this. A lot of these are repeat information, but we'll talk about just some of the needs that have been out there and what's been identified through the years. Review of the bond referendum and the final propositions. Our legal counsel, outside counsel, Tom Sage, and are here in his group, so we have finalized that information, and that's what's included. We took in the recommendations from our last workshop with council as well. We'll hit that project list again, and then have council take action on the first and final consideration of ordinance 2171, calling the election. Again, projects included in the GeoMod package have been identified through years of public engagement. Some people have asked, well, what do you mean engagement? Well, several citizen satisfaction surveys that we've constantly heard where either drainage, transportation, mobility, public safety are always those key things that are our top 3 items that always come out from our community. The master plan work, the planning department's taken master plans to a whole nother level with the community engagement, the feedback we receive from the public. The facility side is an example of that, not only the public, but also from the needs internally with staff where we've identified those shortcomings. Weather events, we all know those between events prior to Harvey, Hurricane Harvey, or as recently as May 7th. And one thing I am appreciative here is how the city's been able to respond to those, not only with issuing studies, but also taking the next steps to identify where those improvements need to be, and council's guidance to get us to this point as far as hopefully moving forward to get those improvements done. The citizen board recommendations, that's really focused on the Animal Advisory Board and the hard work they've done on the animal shelter. Working with Stacy and her group there, strong leadership with that group to understand what those needs are, why their needs are there, what the expectations kind of are as we move that program forward as well. At the fall retreat, council made a recommitment kind of to the Sugar Land Way. The executive team took that as a great step for all of us to kind of start into a large, kind of forward-thinking budget process that we've brought before y'all with the filing of the budget and the subsequent budget workshops that we've been through. A lot of this focused on our service level commitments. This goes beyond just our day-to-day service level commitment. Are we providing acceptable level of service is one thing, both on a day-to-day basis, but also in our capital needs. Are we meeting the Sugar Land Way? And biggest yet is the capital investment meeting the need of our community. That is something we've always talked about. I've been here for over 12 years and we always have that conversation. And I think now recently we've seen where those capital needs, because of where we are as a maturing community, because of just the demands and the expectations that are put on us, not only by y'all, but by our residents, that we needed to kind of make a change. And this is kind of our opportunity. At the spring retreat, again, staff provided a list of those capital needs. This was just a draft, list of, hey, these are things where work has been done. We know they're out there. Council gave the direction at that point for the development of the GO bond program to address those unmet needs. City Council made it very aware they desired voter input and approval on the projects for sure. Process we're here tonight before you. The projects must address needs. None of the wants that are out there, or considerable public engagement and involvement through the process. We've done some of that already to this date with meetings as recently as this morning, but also just back through the development of each of these projects. Drainage projects where we've met many times with residents in Chimney Stone or Settlers Park or Austin Park or Sweetwater or Covington Woods or Sugar Creek, and the list goes on and on and on. As y'all know, I've been to probably most of them. And we have a lot of our residents that are repeat there because they want to see the city take the next step in solving these. In June, we did our initial review of the draft list of projects. We talked about a range of projects there, the geographic coverage of those projects, really focused on those top needs and really kind of a 3-year, that's when we kind of started to put the parameters on of about a 3-year program, FY21 to 23, looking at what we had in available capacity and trying to minimize and manage that overall impact to our residents. At the July workshop, the presentation of the final bond referendum took place with propositions and the projects included. The direction there was to move forward with the $90.76 million GO bond election for those identified CIP needs from FY21 to 23, and that implementation focusing over that 3-year period. And then, of course, finalize all bond material and education campaign. I do have with me tonight some of our tools that have been developed. I proudly say all by staff in-house. This is just what we call part of our Go Kit. This is our canned presentation that walks through everything that we take to every PowerPoint, every presentation where possible. And this is our educational flyer. These are in production right now. We're doing some final tweaking on the information, but as you can see, very informative. Has all the information basically in one trifold and all of our URLs, our websites and stuff where people can go get more information. That is the focus of where we want everybody to try to get and receive all the information that they need to answer their questions. If it's not out there, then we've got several avenues in which they can approach staff. So, as we talked in July, the 4 propositions on the ballot are drainage, which is Prop A, public safety and public facilities, Prop B, streets, Proposition C, and animal shelter, Proposition D. That was a switch. We took that, Councilmember Kamali had made that recommendation. It was supported, so we rotated animal shelter down to Proposition D. Bond delivery time frame, as stated before, completed within a 3-year, or at least under construction by year 3, and a total tax impact starting at 3 cents in FY21. I'm not going to read this for everybody's time and sake, but The underlying portion of it, after our legal counsel, outside counsel's review and stuff, we did some fine tuning on the language, just making sure everything was in there that we needed to in order to make sure we could deliver the projects. So this is Proposition A, as it will read and is in all of our public information. And on the drainage side, and these are the projects that are included. The only thing that's changed here is really us tweaking some of the names because we did, on some of these, because we did have some confusion that was out there with some of the nomenclature. So we've made that and addressed that for this evening. Drainage totaling still $47.6 million for those projects to make sure that we can get done what we need to in this next 3 years plus. Proposition B is for the public safety, public facility projects, $26.3 million, and again, just the underlying segment there within the proposition language, clarifying the needs. And again, the projects there, the Emergency Operations Center, Public Safety Dispatch, the Public Safety Training Facility Phase 2, the Public Safety and Public Services Building rehabilitations, and then again, our fire EMS apparatus replacements. Total there at 26.3. Proposition C, again, this is the streets, 10.26 million total. Again, everything underlined, making sure we're capturing all the needs that are there. And these are the projects. We did make one cleanup on the Soldiers Field extension to State Highway 6 and made sure it was very clear that it is a roundabout proposed at First Colony and Soldiers Field. There are some improvements that will work with the State Highway 6 improvements that are underway right now with some geometric improvements at First Colony and Brook Street. Those will be kind of built as part of this project. Whatever TxDOT will not construct for us with the State Highway 6 side, they are included as well. So we've cleaned some of that up as well. So there's no misunderstanding on that standpoint. Proposition D is our animal shelter. Again, made sure we've just covered everything. It said design, construction, acquisition of equipment, animal shelter and control facilities, moving to at $6.6 million for that project as well.
Chris, talk a little bit about that's the public cost, if you will, but there's another component of that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yes, sir. So through the past 18 months or so, that Animal Advisory Board has been working with the Director of ENS, Stacy Henderson, and her group in identifying kind of the full program and stuff that they would like for the animal shelter. And they went through a very kind of strenuous exercise of, I don't like the needs and wants side, but needs versus expanded services or things that they would like, enhancements to the facility that really promote education for the public. This is really this hardcore city capital cost that expands the building to continue to deliver the services that are delivered today. Those enhanced services are things that have been identified by the board to put in a capital campaign that they're working on right now and that we have introduced to the Sugar Land Legacy Foundation as of last week, Monday. Right. So there's continuous work going on that effort as well. Design was already programmed in a past CIP, so those dollars are available to move the design forward, but this would be the city's cost share and stuff for this project, which we're confident we can get the building and site built and everything else. There are furnishers, fixtures, and equipment that they've identified, and there are some spaces inside that they would like to build out as well. That is the fundraising side behind that.
Thanks, Chris.
Here, as everybody has seen in the public information, the distribution of funds across the board. So 53% on drainage, 29% on public safety and public facilities, 11% on streets, and 7% on the animal shelter. At the last workshop, I showed you kind of the draft language for Proposition A. This is all of the ballot language, Proposition A, B on this page. So this is what the voters will see when they go to vote on November 5th. I might add, along with several other things, there's several state constitutional amendments that are going to be out there and everything else. So we will be in the mix of all that. So we are including some of that in our educational material as we just remind people what they will see as they go to the ballot boxes on November 5th or during early voting as well.
Yeah. Does
the state amendment language go ahead of our ballot language, or is it below it?
I'm not for sure, but I think it usually goes before. But I'll ask.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure if we can make our own.
I'll ask.
The cities will be last.
Cities will be last.
Yes, sir.
So these are Proposition A and B, which is drainage and the public safety facilities. And this is Proposition C and D, which are the streets and the animal shelter. Again, before I get to the final council action, we talked about a series of events that were going on at the last workshop where we had planned meetings already in a calendar. The calendar's filling up quick. Some of y'all have seen those meetings being put out there. I know Cindy and her group have been working on the district town hall meetings. With tonight's action, of course, calling the election, you can see these are just some of the dates that are out there that we have identified already. There are many others that will continue to come up that we will engage with either the district council members, depending on the location and the group setting, but also with the at-large and the mayor on some of the larger settings as we go through this process. So if you hear of anything, please get with Cindy and coordinate with us. We want to make sure that we send staff with y'all to go to some of these, but also with the GO-KID information, because we have cards produced and stuff, question cards. We have the website URLs. We will have the trifolds here within a little over a week. So that way, all that information can be disseminated and stuff. And if people have questions, there's several ways they can get those to us. We've had several actually come in today from Doug and Keisha's presentation at the Exchange Club, where some are maybe bond related, others aren't, but they're general questions that we can answer anyway. So we're processing those through Daphne and through 311 as well. So we're tracking all of those, and we'll continue to build the frequently asked questions list as robust as it needs to be before we're done with this. So again, the goal here is get to that November 5th date, and hopefully canvass a very positive result from the election stuff on November 18th. Any questions for me before I step into the recommendation?
Chris, before we go to the questions, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to approve A. And then what I'd also like to say is, I want to thank the council in going through the budget process. This came about, even though we knew that we had these projects available, it came about very quickly. Staff's done an extraordinary job of pulling this together. We looked at doing this in May, I felt very strongly about doing it in November so it didn't get messed up in the politics in May of next year. So staff responded accordingly, pulled together the package, pulled together the language. We now have in place a speakers bureau. There have been a number of presentations that have been made. There'll be a number of presentations that will continue to be made. And we appreciate the good work, Alan, of you and your staff. Carol.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Chris Reed, regarding the $2.5 million for the Soldiersfield Roundabout project, about what's the split between the cost for the roundabout itself versus the work that'll be done at Highway 6?
So the roundabout, through estimate where they are in design right now, is approximately $1 million. I haven't looked at the numbers in detail yet, but I know that information was put together by engineering and the consultant. Roughly around $1 million. I do want to express it's a 4-lane setup. You're also looking at drainage modifications and the center median layout in that. So it's pretty intricate in the design and the detail to make sure you don't end up with poor drainage in certain areas and stuff because of the way we're narrowing lanes and transitioning traffic into that. So it's about $1 million, maybe just under that, and then the extension out to the rest of it is really the utilities and drainage and road work of extending Soldiers Field to State Highway 6, and I believe part of that does work with the Brook Street First Colony geometric improvements where it connects to State Highway 6 as well.
Thank you.
Anyone else? I've got a motion and I've got a second. I'd ask you to vote at this time, please. And it's a 7-0 vote. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Item number 2, closed executive session. 2A, closed executive session is authorized by Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with Section 551071, consultation with the attorney. And at this time, we're going to adjourn to the council dining room. Thank you all.